بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Dear students, we had our lesson, which was a very interesting lesson. We had lots of words to talk about, which was in our last period. Now, we had actually two parts. We have pronunciation and we had the vocabulary building. So let's just move on and see what we have. Now, you can see that we talked about the idea of detectives here. Now, we learned a new vocabulary throughout the idea of detectives. Now we have here the words. You can see that we have altered, captivates, confronts, crucial, defects, enduring, exotic, ironically, and phenomenal. And you recall now the meanings that we had here, and we matched, of course, each word with the correct meaning. Also, something else that we have here. Now, I mentioned something about relating. I gave you all-in-one content in the last lesson. Here we can just apply the words in different examples. Now I want you to know that we have here these words. Do not just relate them with detective stories or with something in specific. So you can relate each word differently. For example, we have here, Ahmed wanted to study pharmacology but altered his major to computer sciences. Now here you can just recall that the meaning of alter is change. We have also, the fireworks captivated everyone's attention. Now, what did we say about capturing attention? You have to always confront your problems, or as we said, to face them. Crucial moments happen to everyone, but you have to learn how to act quickly in them. The new computer has a lot of defects. I don't like it that much. So even in our devices that we use, we can say that they have defects. Leading us to the next word we have here, I love my friends so much. Our enduring friendship is so valuable to me. I wish to travel to exotic areas in the world. Now, do you remember when I gave you or showed you a picture of herbs the last time? You can see that exotic can be also applied in other things as well. Ironically, some people lie although they don't like being lied to. Now, you can see that we used the different words, leading us to, we have here symbiotic relationships. Do you remember the word symbiotic from Unit 1? Now, symbiotic relationships, I can describe them and say that they are phenomenal between animals. Now, this is what we took in our vocabulary lesson. We are going to move on to the reading lesson here. Now, the reading that we said that we're going to study about detective stories here. Going back to the question that I asked you at the beginning of the last lesson here. We have your detectives. Who are they and what do they do? Now, we related to one word, if you recall. We have here a word which is to investigate or investigation. Now, we have detectives in general. We are going to read about them in the reading passage. Now, the title of the reading passage, as you can see in your book, is The Formula Behind Detective Stories on TV. Now, I want you to highlight the word formula here because we're going to discuss it later. So open your books, please, on pages number 54 and 55 as well. Our objectives are going to be to give information related to the detective stories, characters and their characteristics, plots and basic elements, scan for information and words, answer questions, and enumerate the elements in a detective story. Now we're going to start with our lesson here. Now, I asked you the last time to just read the sentences that we have here, which is the true and false exercise. Now, there is something written before. We have here, brainstorm a list of elements in a detective story. Now, what are elements? We can say that we're going to join between the words that we have here. I told you to just focus on the word formula. And we see that there are different elements, plural. Now, we're going to learn more. What do we mean by formula? What do we mean about elements? And note that we are not talking about one story specifically. We are talking about the idea of detective stories in general. So we are going to move on. Now we have in the book, answer the following. Are you interested in detective and mystery solving stories? Why or why not? So this is a personal question. Sometimes people, they are, yes, interested and they like to watch these types of movies, and sometimes not. So it depends on you. If you say yes or no, you are going to explain with your classmates why or why not. Also, there is another question here. What are detective stories related to? No, they are related to different stories or different ideas that we have here. And we can see that where do people usually find and follow these stories? Now, detective stories, when there is a detective, there is a certain idea in the story, which I mean by related. It is related to something in specific. So what is the idea that you can come up with in mind and just discuss it with your classmates? Also, where do people usually find and follow these stories? Now, of course, we can watch them on TV, we can go to the movies, for example, or read books, actually, just to enjoy a detective story. You can find them in different places. Now, I would like you to visualize with me. Just visualize here. Imagine yourself solving a mystery with the detective. So when we say that there is a mystery, so this means that there is something happening, or there is a crime in the story here, and they are going to solve what happened here in this mystery. Now brainstorm a list of elements in a detective story. So focus on the elements in a detective story. So when there is a story, as I mentioned at the very beginning, that there must be a crime. What other things are associated with detective stories? Okay, now we're going to start with our passage here. We are going to highlight all the words that are connected with the questions that I gave you at the very beginning. We're going to highlight the basic ideas. Now, we are going to start first of all with what are detective stories a part of. You are going to focus here on this part and just read with me what are detective stories a part of. So let's start. I'm going to give you time. We have here. Yes, so let's start. Okay, so now time's up. We have our question we're going to answer, and also there's something else. We have here, I want the synonym of attractive. The synonym of attractive, and why is the word mentioned? So here, let's just highlight together. We have here, yes. Now, if you highlighted the same part, you have the correct answer. We have here, detective stories have always been a favorite in literature, and now they are one of the most popular genres in TV films and series. Now, completing here, we have what is the synonym of attractive. We can see that it is the word appealing. And why is it mentioned? Okay, because there is something appealing about the mystery and intrigue that captivates viewers and keeps them in suspense, and they want to know more. So this is going to be the first part. Of course, we have here the word, the vocabulary building word, captivate. Now we have here the word intrigue. What does it mean? It means the plot, the scheme, the setup, or the trick. Moving on to our next part we have here. Now, what accounts for the phenomenal success and enduring popularity of detective stories? Now, actually, there are 9 words that I want you to find here. So here you have the question within the paragraph, and we're going to look for 9 points. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so let's start. First of all, you can see that we have the vocabulary building words that we have. We have phenomenal, enduring, and exotic, just to revise their meanings. And we have the words that I want, just check with me. We have, first of all, the charismatic and fearless hero, the uncanny ability to uncover the truth, and his uncanny ability. We have action and adventure, the high-speed chases, danger, and exotic settings. We have something about psychological wit also, and high-tech gadgets. Now, all of these, they are the phenomenal, or the what accounts of the success. We can see that all of these things, they are parts of the detective story here that we are going to watch. And without these things, there is something missing in the story. Now, concerning the word gadget here, we can see that we have here the word gadget and also triumph. Now, gadgets, there are different gadgets that can be used. Now, they are tools or instruments or devices or appliances. Also, we have here the word triumph. Now, we have here which is the victory. So, at the end of the story, there is a kind of triumph that the hero feels. Now, moving on, we have the third part. You can see that we have the two words. We have ironically and confront. Now, what is the question? We have here, we're going to complete with why are detective stories ironic? So specifically, you are going to look for the reason why. Why are detective stories ironic? Now, do you remember the word ironically? We have here, it is an adverb. So I'm asking you here, why are they ironic? Now we're going to see also together. You have your time to search. Okay, so let's look for our answers. We have here, what's ironic about it, that the TV audience knows the plot will be puzzling and sometimes have unexpected results. They know the hero will confront dangerous villains. They know there will be complicated steps involved in piecing together all the clues. So we know that these are things are going to happen, but still we are interested in knowing and finding out. Now, moreover, we have here in the next part, how is the basic character identified? How does his own character help in solving the case? Now, you're going to look for these two questions. We have actually also a third question. There are two other kinds of characters. What are their characteristics? So here we are talking about the character, the basic character, which is, you're going to look for it, starting. So let's start now. We have here, first of all, the most basic element in the formula of detective story is the hero or the detective. So we know that this is something that must be in the story, that we have a hero, or in the detective in general. Now we are going to identify his character. We can say that he is a courageous individual. We have here superior intelligence. Now we can also describe him as often charming and outgoing, which helps him socialize with others, while in fact he's collecting information from witnesses and gathering evidence for his case. Now also there is something else. We can say that there are two other kinds of characters. This is the main picture that we usually have about the detective. And we can add also another thing here. We can add that we have, yes, now there is another type that is gruff and serious, who rarely smiles but is very efficient at his job. And also there is the naive and the clumsy character who accidentally stumbles across clues to eventually solve the crime. So you can see that there are three types of heroes here, and they are different characters. Of course, one story can have one type of detective here. Now we are going to move on to the next part here. So let's say that we have the two words. Of course, we have gruff. What is the meaning of gruff? Now we have here gruff means that someone is rough or tough, or you have a tough character. And we have the other word, naive. Now naive is someone who is innocent, simple, sincere, and ignorant at the same time. Moving on with our reading. Now I have something also new for you. Of course, you can see that we have here the vocabulary. We have crucial and defects that we learned before. Now your question is, what kind of villains are there? So in the first part, we talked about heroes, and we pointed out that there are three different types of heroes. Now we are going to focus on the villain. So do you think that there are other types of villains? And if you recall that we said from the very beginning that of course the villain also plays a crucial role in the story. So let's start. Okay, so did you find your answer? So let's just scan together. We have here. Now, there are stereotypical villains. Stereotype. Stereotype is a word that we are going to learn, inshallah, in our Mega Goal 3 in general. Now, one of the units, we have the word, so just put it in mind so you will not forget it for later. But I can give you a hint now and say that there are stereotyped ideas about the villain. We can say, first of all, that there are cold-blooded. We can say that there are greedy criminals, evil geniuses, and mad scientists. So these are basically the types of villains that we see or read about. Also, we can say that we have here the word stereotypical. As we said, we have here it is something that is commonplace. So just put the word in mind. We're going to learn about it more in the future. Now, we are going to read about something different here. Of course, you can see that we talked mainly about detective stories, and then we had the elements of detective stories. We talked about the hero, and also we read about the villain. So what's new? We have here something else. We have, what are the kinds of special talents that assist the detective? So the detective has some kind of special talent. We're going to read about it. So you have your time. Okay, so let's see what are the answers that we have here. Now, we said that there are special talents or tools that we can use, or the detective actually can use. For example, we have here the magnifying glass, sophisticated DNA analysis. We have the electronic tracking devices. Now, some detectives even use high-tech gadgets that are disguised Okay, so we have here, let's just, go back again, just a minute. Yes, we have here disguise as everywhere, everyday objects. So do you recall when we just showed you the picture of gadgets, we passed by it. And here, these gadgets can be also something different. They can look as everyday objects, but actually they are a specific type of gadget. Now this is something that detective story lovers are familiar with. Now let's move on to the second part we have here. Yes, now let's see what the question is. We have here, when do scenes of action and danger happen? So do they happen from the very beginning of the story? This is something you're going to read about. Let's see what else can happen. Yes, let's start. Okay, so let's just see what we have here. Now, what do scenes of action and when do scenes of action and danger happen? We can see that when the hero confronts the villain. Do you remember the word confront? And also, what else can happen? We have here, if the detective is captured, he finds himself in the life-threatening situations and must use his skills to escape. And he is even more determined to catch the villain. Now, we have here this part. You can see that we have here the word alter. We have a yes-no question. Does the detective accomplish his mission? Now, this is usually a simple question, but we're going to read about it. And another question, is the audience satisfied? Now here, just to read together. Okay, so we have here simple questions. Now we have here, yes, he does. So usually the end of the story, yes. Okay, so this is the common idea that we have here in detective stories. And is the audience satisfied? Yes, it is. Okay, so usually the basic idea that we have here, that the mystery is solved and the criminal or the villain is captured, and that the hero at the very end gets what he wants. Now, we have here an outline for all the details that we talked about. We have here, now brainstorm a list of elements in a detective story. Do you remember that this is the question that I asked you to think about in our previous lesson? So we're going to just see what we have here. What do I mean by the word elements? Now, elements here, we have here, first of all, there is mystery and intrigue. This is number one. Then we are going to add predict and solve the case. Of course, the mysterious case is going to be predicted and solved. Now also we can add that there is the hero, which is a very important element in the story. So we have here after that the villain, and of course there is a mystery. We can add that we have here intellectual reasoning and technological devices to solve the mystery. And at the very end, there is action, of course, and danger, and there is confrontation and also escaping. Now, all of these words, they are connected, and they are the elements of a detective story. We do have our exercise that I told you about in our previous lesson, which is, of course, on page number 55. Now, this exercise is going to be homework, which we are going to revise and do again, inshallah, in our next lesson. At the very end, our outline of the day. Now, we explored the idea of detective stories. We have analyzed the different elements that we have here. We also listed different characteristics for each part, which is the hero and the villain, and at the very end we evaluated the whole idea of detective stories that a lot of people admire. So you have your homework, don't forget it, and be ready.